Okay guys, today I'm going to go over everything I want new shooters to know before you come shooting at the range with me. We're going to go over some basic things. So very first, we're going to go over the 4 rules of firearm safety. Second, we're going to go over the different types of firearms that we may be shooting over there. First off, we're going to go over shotguns. Typically, I take either coworker groups or youth groups to go shoot shotguns, so we'll go over those first. Second of all, we'll go over pistols. This is more for your self-defense, everyday carry. We'll go over some of those and things that you should know before we go shooting with those. And then lastly, we'll go over some AR stuff, just because usually when we're done with shotguns or pistols, sometimes it's fun to break out an AR or two and shoot some of those, but I won't go into much depth into those at all today. Also, if you are an experienced shooter, feel free to watch this video and throw anything that you think I miss in the comments section below. Okay guys, next up are the 4 rules of firearm safety. This very first one is probably the most difficult for everybody to get because you have been trained this wrong your entire life. All of us guys, we've grown up with squirt guns, Nerf guns, airsoft guns, whatever, and we have a trigger right here, and we got a trigger finger, and we put our trigger finger on the trigger, but that is wrong. So I need you to undo the past 20 years of everything you have ever learned, and I need you to get your finger off the trigger until you are ready to fire. So that is the very first rule, is I want you to keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to fire. And I need you to ingrain it into you so much so that you don't even think about it. So you start grabbing drills and water bottles and squirt guns with your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. And I'll call you out at the range if you don't do it. And that's the #1 thing that I look for shooters. If they know what they're doing, they'll grab a gun and their finger will be off the trigger until they're ready to fire. Okay, the second rule is always treat every firearm like it is loaded. Even if it is not loaded, we're going to treat it always like it is loaded, because if it's not loaded and we accidentally pull the trigger, it's not a big deal, but if it is loaded and we accidentally pull the trigger, somebody dies. Obviously, we have to break 2 rules for that. You have to treat it like it's not loaded and put your finger on the trigger. Notice there's some redundancy built into these rules. So no matter if it's loaded or not loaded, we're always going to treat it like it's loaded. Okay, the third rule is always keep it pointed in the direction of least consequence, or a safe direction. Sometimes people will phrase this rule, don't point at anything you don't want to destroy. I like the direction of least consequence because that way when you're cleaning it, it's still pointed at something you don't want to destroy, but it's pointing in the safe direction. So always keep it pointed down range if we're at the range. With pistols, this is especially difficult because after shooting, you will oftentimes turn around and swipe everybody with your muzzle when you're pulling a magazine. I've seen people do some crazy things. So always keep it pointed in a safe direction, and really think about that when you're doing pistols. When you're done shooting pistols, straight down, turn, wherever you're going to go, pointed down. That's the safest direction. Okay, and the last rule is to know your target and what is beyond it. So if your target is, you know, there somewhere not too far away, but beyond it are some trees, you don't want to shoot there because you don't know what's in those trees. It could be somebody sleeping, could be somebody hiking, could be a biking trail, whatever it is. You want to know what is beyond your target. Ideally, some sort of backstop, a big pile of dirt, mountain, something like that. Okay guys, those are the 4 rules. So keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Always keep your firearm pointed in the direction of least consequence. Always treat it like it's loaded, and know your target and what is beyond it. Okay guys, now we're going to get into shotguns. If you're going to come shoot pistols with me, you can skip to the pistol section. But for most youth group and coworkers, we're going to do shotguns. So I got 2 different types of shotguns that I'll bring. There are more types in this. I have a pump action, you know, the very classic, and then your semi-automatic. There are other ones, but we're not going to talk about those. These are definitely the most common. So, as far as the shotgun mechanics work, there's a couple things you need to know about. So on the pump action, obviously, you just rack a new round, you use the pump action. You'll notice it locks, so there's a little button down here that you push, and that's going to unlock it. That's useful. So if you have a round, or maybe you think you're out, you can just push it, and then you can peek in, you can look it and check that it's clear, and then or if you have another round, and you can go there. So those are the mechanics there. The other thing is the safeties for both these shotguns is right here. So black is safe, red is fire, and then obviously your trigger. So I'll show you that it's clear, and then trigger. So those are the mechanics of this one. The semi-automatic is almost identical. We don't have a pump action. Instead, you'll have this guy here that you can pull back. If there was a round, then it would you'd let it go and it would go forward. Since it's empty, it will lock back just like a pistol or an AR. This one, instead of the little button down here, we're gonna have a little button right here. Now we're going to push, and that's going to is what's going to let it go forward. This one, to peak, you don't have to push anything. You can just check and see if you have a round or if it's empty or clear or whatnot. You can just pull it straight back and let it go forward. This one, after you pull back, to rack around, if you need to rack one, just let it go forward. If it's already locked back, you can push that button. To load this one, I didn't talk about loading that other one, but it's super simple. Even simpler this one. This one, you have to push this button, and then you can put a round in, and I will show you that. So we got a round here. Just like that. On that one, on the other one, you don't have to push a button, you'll just put it in. Okay, and then that would rack it, and now it's clear. Safety, same exact place on this one, just right here. And that's pretty much it for the mechanics. Okay, as far as shotgun safety, same thing. Well, the 4 rules apply. Finger off the trigger. Always put your looks like loaded. Keep pointing the direction of least consequence, and know your target and what's beyond it. So after we load it, so if that is down range, I would load it up. I would just flip it over, and then when you need to go down range behind somebody, we're just going to point it straight up. We'll be shooting birdshot, so it's not lethal even when it comes down. You walk behind everybody, and then you'll go to shoot it. If you want to rest, oftentimes I'll just kick a leg out, and I'll just kind of rest it on my leg if somebody's taking a zillion years to load a clay pigeon. As far as how we're going to hold it, you're just going to want to take the stock of your shotgun, put it right in your arm. You don't want it super up high like this. You don't want it super down low. You don't want it clear off to the side resting on your arm. You want it right on your shoulder, press firmly, and then we're going to get your eye down right looking at the very top of the shotgun. And then there's this little bead, so we're going to be looking straight down. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Straight down the shotgun, and then that bead will put on the target, and then you pull the trigger. So that goes the same for both the semi-automatic and the pump action shotgun. Okay, so moving into pistols, I got 3 different types. I have a micro 9, or like a kind of an everyday carry kind of setup. I have a compact, so this is a little bit larger, a little bit thicker grip, overall a little bit bigger. And then this is a full-size 9mm with a few extras on it as well: optic, compensator, suppressor height sights, light. This one is much bigger than obviously the little one. I'll bring all the different ones. The larger the firearm is, as far as pistols goes, typically the easier it is to shoot accurately, but also the harder it is to conceal carry. Okay, so with pistols, just like shotguns and every other firearm, safety is extremely important. But with pistols, it's easier to break the rules of safety. For example, especially pointing a pistol in a direction that you don't want to is super easy because the barrel is so short. It's easy to just turn and point it places where you don't want to shoot it. Especially when you're out and your slides lock back, you're like, okay, I'm done, and then you'll point it somewhere else. But if you had a jam and then you did that, now you're pointing a gun that could potentially have a delay fire at people, and bad things could happen. So there are 500-ish firearms deaths related to accidents every year in the United States. Let's not add to those numbers. So again, the safety rules: always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Keep your firearm pointed in the safe direction, or the direction of least consequence. Always treat your firearm like it is loaded, and then know your target and what is beyond it. So with firearms, as far as the pistol mechanics go, you have your slide here. Nice and simple. There's a slide lock right here, so that's how I got it to lock back. I'll flip around so you can see that. So when I pull it back, I push that up. If you have a magazine in there that is empty, it will automatically lock back. That's how the slide locks back on its own. We'll stay on this side. We have the magazine release. I don't have a magazine in there, but to drop the magazine, you would normally push that, and your magazine would fall out. Most of my pistols don't have any manual safeties. They typically have either a trigger safety and or a grip safety. So there's no manual safety on this pistol, and when you get into pistols more, you'll realize that manual safeties suck rocks. So and then obviously to make it go bang, there's the trigger. So that's pretty much it as far as the mechanics of the pistol go. So to check that if it's loaded, you can, if you're at the range, you want to just see if you have a round in there, you can just kind of pull it back and then peek in there to see if you have one. When I just pick up a gun for the first time, I'll drop the magazine, pull it back, and then I'll either visually check or physically check, if it's dark and I can't see, that the chamber is indeed empty, because I have had it where extractors don't pull it out, especially on 22 long rifle, and then that can get exciting. We don't want to do that. there are 4 things to consider when shooting a pistol and how to shoot it better. So the very first and the most important is your sight alignment. So with pistols with iron sights, we have a front sight or rear sight, and then you have your target. I'm trying to line it up, but it's kind of hard for me to see if it's lined up. I'll put a picture here to how to line it up. But essentially, you're going to put your front sight in between your rear sight. Focus that on, put it on the target. You're going to be looking at your front sight. That's the most important. That is what you'll be focused on as you point it at your target. And then you will pull the trigger and fire. As far as optic mounted pistols, so this is a red dot. They're a little bit simpler because you only have the dot and the target. So you're only lining up 2 things instead of 3, so it allows you to shoot a little bit faster. It does take some getting used to. Okay, the second most thing that is most important is to shoot a pistol well is your grip. So we're going to do what's called the 2 thumbs forward grip. So the very first hand, your dominant hand, you're just going to come in and you're going to grip the gun, and then your other hand, there's all this space here, so I'm just going to bring my other hand in so the thumb is pointing forward. So I'm not going to grab my wrist here, I'm not going to grab my wrist here, I'm not going to put my hand up here, I'm not going to just wrap it around like this. I see lots of people wrap it like this. This is close, you're getting close, but we're just going to bring that thumb up here so we get as much of this other support hand in there as possible, and both thumbs are going to be pointed forward. Some guns even have a little bit of a pad here that you can rest it, or race guns will often even have a ledge that's sticking out for you to rest your thumb on. So 2 thumbs forward, get used to that. Go find an airsoft gun and start practicing that before we get to the range, just to get used to it, along with the other 4 rules. Okay, the other thing that's important, just as important as grip, is your trigger pull. So when you go to pull the trigger, you're going to want to essentially, you'll pull it back to the wall, make sure your sights are lined up, and then there'll be a little bit more of a pull, and then it will go bang. So you're going to want to really focus on just pulling that trigger straight back. It sounds really simple, but what people will do is they'll muscle that trigger for right-handed shooters, and they'll shoot down and to the left just a little bit. It's not much, but enough at the gun that they'll be missing their target almost every time. For left-handed shooters, they'll oftentimes go down and to the left. So pull that trigger straight back. Okay, the very last thing to shoot well is your stance. Now, I've seen lots of people that'll just come up, stand flat foot, start shooting, and then they'll end up leaning clear back like that. So all I do is I take my left foot, plop it out forward. I'm not going to go into different types of stances, and then I lean into it as I go to shoot. So, and that way, when the recoil comes, I just absorb it. Also with the grip, typically more is better. You don't want to be a limp noodle and have it being on like this. You want it nice and firm. Essentially, more is better. Grip nice and firm. Okay, so that's pretty much it as far as pistols. If you thought I missed anything or have any other questions, put it in the comments below. Okay, very last thing are ARs. Typically at the range, we'll have a little bit of time afterward, and I'll let you shoot my AR. YouTube doesn't like magazines, so I'm not going to be showing any of the magazine stuff today. They're okay with Commie mags if it's only 10 rounds, but I don't have very many of those. So as far as the AR goes, rather than a slide like on the pistol, you're going to have what's called a charging handle, which is right here. So to rack around, you just pull it back and let her go forward. It's similar to the slide. Okay, we have the bolt here that's going to be sliding back and forth. If for some reason it gets caught, or if you want to peek and see if you have a round loaded in there, which clearly I don't, then you can push the forward assist and then it will go forward. As far as the magazine release, that's a little button right here. And then when it's out, your bolt will get locked back like so. And then to release the bolt, you'll just push this bolt catch right there. I'll be able to guide you through all this stuff, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about any of the controls up here. I'll just set that to where it needs to be. I'll pop that open for you. As far as holding it, similar to the shotgun, you're just going to want to get it nice and firm. You're going to want to take your right hand and just get it up nice and good, and then just put this finger in, and essentially this should be a nice, similar to the pistol, this should be a nice firm grip. I actually don't like these grips with the little knobby thingy here. I'm going to replace this grip eventually because my fingers are not small enough to actually line it, so one finger ends up like right on top of it. But a nice firm grip. I'll put this finger in there. I'll take this hand and I'll hold it with a thumb even over. I'll line up nice firm in the back, and then my safety selector, which I didn't even tell you where that was. I'll point that out to you later, and then pull the trigger. Okay, the safety selector is right here. So that is safe, that is fire. It says it might be hard to see in the dark. So that's pretty much it for ARs, because we likely won't be shooting them a whole lot. Okay guys, that was a whole crap ton of information. If you think I missed anything, or if you have any other questions, please put in the comments below. I still read all the comments. And then I will see you at the range. Okay guys, thanks for watching.